While I was polishing the headlights on the Camry, I heard a pop and saw steam coming out of the radiator. If you have been following this channel and this looks familiar, that's because my other car had the exact same issue last year. The radiator replacement is relatively easy, but while you're in there, preventative maintenance includes replacing worn coolant hoses. A reminder, I bought this car for $500 and getting everything done professionally will likely exceed that. If you want to save your car from the scrapyard, keep watching so you too can stay car payment free for a little longer. First of all, wait for the car to cool down, then remove the radiator cap. Underneath the car, the drain plug is behind the shield, and so is the lower hose, so we're gonna have to remove this. Just a few bolts and clips. Some of these might be broken off, like you see here. So start this part early in case something goes wrong. Here's the drain. Before getting to that, or at the same time, you might want to start loosening some of these clips. These rings here, these clamps, make sure they don't break off. If they do, you need to order replacements ahead of time. This is for a lower hose. These are for the transmission lines. You see that goes up there. Then just pop this out. Go for it. While that is going, we could also get started on removing these clamps. Same thing, 1, 2 clamps here. Next, we have 2 fan connectors here. You gotta push the tab in. Okay. After that cable is removed, this 10mm nut, or a few of these, will remove the fan on the right. Repeat for the left side, remove this connector, 2 bolts for the fan on the left. These transmission lines will start leaking as soon as you remove it, so you need to find a way to pinch off these hoses to minimize the amount of fluid leaks. Something like that, that will work. Alright, the last thing is just these 2 top support brackets. Might be a little bit rusted. Oh yeah, good luck with these. This has a high chance of snapping off, so I'm going to use some penetrating fluid. I'm going to loosen it, add more, loosen it, add more. Work its way through slowly so it doesn't snap off. Loosen, add more fluid. If you feel a lot of resistance, stop. That's usually right before the head snaps off, and then you have to drill this out, and it's a big pain in the ass. So take your time with these. There's only 2 mounts here, so you don't want to break either of them. Okay, take your time. Everything is disconnected. All you gotta do is pull it straight up. Jesus Christ. Here's the old one, here's the new one. We gotta move this sensor over using a 17, it looks like. I'm sorry, this is a 19mm socket. And then also these 2 rubber mounts on the bottom. Those need to be moved over, as well as this plug right here. This is where that sensor or switch or whatever this is goes. We're going to reuse these 2 things right here, these rubber mounts, one on each side. Clean out this area. Let's put the radiator back in, the new one.
This is the CSF radiator and new cap, 13 pounds. Everything's just the reverse of how we took it out. Let's also get rid of this coolant, just a 10mm bolt, maybe one or two more. Get this out, put it back in, and let's put distilled water in the system to flush it out. As you can see, a lot of these had a hard time going back in. I'll just follow the same imprint on the hose. Honestly, now's a good time to replace or consider replacing all these hoses. They don't last forever, just like tires. This car has several hoses, as you saw in this video. There's the lower radiator hose, the upper radiator hose. There is a coolant bypass hose down here. Goes to this T right here. There's a top and bottom heater hose. Then there's two that go into the throttle body and into the intake manifold. With an old car, the challenge is some parts like this coolant bypass hose is discontinued. Maybe it never breaks, who knows. A second problem is that OEM hoses are expensive. It adds up pretty quickly. This one has been replaced with aftermarket before. It's acceptable. There's easy access, so if it breaks, it's not too hard to change it out. The realistic option is to change things that are actually broken. You see the bulge here? This made this clamp really hard to go in earlier. You see some swelling here, so I would replace this hose and that one just because, again, easy access. These seem to be the ones that get damaged the quickest. Don't know if you can see here, but this heater hose has a little bit of damage and swelling. This is due to the oil leak at the distributor cap seal. Other than that, anything else that's stiff, dry rotted, cracked, I mean, you kind of get a feel over time. Those are obvious. If you see that, make sure you replace that as well. If you don't, just like the radiator is going to break or burst at the most inopportune time. That's just how it is. One more good practice, especially on older cars, is to replace the thermostat while you're in there. I actually already did this when I replaced the timing belt last year. You see the water pump, that all the old parts are here. This is the old thermostat. In some cars, these will fail closed so that it will actually overheat the engine when it goes bad. I'm not sure if this is the type that fails shut, but again, it's cheap insurance to just replace this at the same time. While I still have distilled water kind of flushing out the system, I'm going to order the replacement hoses and get back to it once they arrive. Let's start disconnecting the hoses we're replacing. The top one and bottom one should be obvious. For the top one, we removed it once, so I'm just going to remove it again. If you see any wires clipped to it, you have to find a way to disconnect these clips. This one's broken. This is what I'm talking about. This one holds the wires going to the alternator. So try to reuse these clips, save it if possible. Otherwise, you're gonna have to zip tie it if you break it. Hands down, the most annoying part about getting these hoses off are the clamps. This one's easy because it's easy to access. As it gets closer inside the engine, it gets harder because there's limited clearance. This one's also not too bad, but the heater ones in the back, that'll be more interesting. This hose is so messed up, the clamp actually comes off with it. Probably some more swelling, that's why this clamp is not coming off easily. Once again, this clamp would not come out without popping the hose off, wiggling it off with it. Just twist it back and forth while holding or clamping this down and just pull it straight out. It's a good idea to take a video of where the wires go before you do this. You just lift this up and then the clamp comes off, or this little plastic retainer. So just keep this in mind for later. Same thing, find a pair of pliers, twist it. Oh, this one comes off a little bit easier, as you can see, so this one probably doesn't have as much damage. Just gotta get past that nipple. Try not to get it cut. That's really the hardest part of doing this whole thing. And just twist it back left and right. Nope, it needs to come out a little bit more. There we go. Once you get past that, I forget what they call it, the nipple, the flare, you should be able to twist this right off. It's coming. Just twist it left and right, left and right. Not on the wires. All right. Come on. Yep, so it's not hard, it's just very annoying. Yep, that's a little lip right there that you have to clear. That's what secures it in place when you have it clamped down. This one I showed earlier, but same concept. Oh, this is the only one so far that came out gracefully. If it's not draining yet, you might want to wait for that to drain before all this water comes gushing out. And of course, the last one is going to be the hardest one in terms of clearance. This is the upper heater hose. One of them is in a kind of easy to get place. Is the top hose. Unfortunately, it's not the one on the bottom. So you're going to have to unclamp that side. Here, there's a T. This hose actually goes over. I believe let's see. Oh man, this one's down here. All the way down here. You actually might have to take apart the air filter and the ignition coil wires to get to it. Let's see if I can get to it without it first. As in typical car faction, make sure you start early because something always goes wrong. For clearance, I remove one of the connectors here. Let's see if I can find it. I remove this connector here, which goes to this injector. The clamp in the back is not too bad as long as those two prongs are facing you. If it's facing some other direction, you're gonna have a nightmare because nothing will reach it. As for the other clamp, it was hard because the hose is so swollen and oil contaminated. This is the only Knipex wrench that would fit. These are everything else that would not touch it. So find a tool that makes it work. If you can't get it off, my backup plan was to just cut the hose with a utility knife and just force it off or grind off that clamp. But then you gotta worry about damaging something else and making an even bigger problem. Not surprising, the parts I ordered from RockAuto are with USPS somewhere delayed. Was supposed to get here yesterday. It's not here. Try to support a local-ish store, NAPA, which surprisingly has all the other hoses I did not get to replacing, such as this one, which is discontinued by Toyota.
However, all these hoses will also get here next week. The website is inaccurate. It'll say that it will arrive in a day or two, but when you check out, it delays it by several days. Worse, the $50 shipping only applies if the entire order is delivery. I tried doing half pickup, half delivery, and they tried charging me shipping, so I just canceled everything. Ended up ordering the remaining hoses from RockAuto, at least the ones that are hard to get to or will be a pain in the future to replace. So I'm gonna try to change out the remaining heater hose, the 2 hoses coming off the throttle body, this 90-degree bypass. The remaining hoses, such as the transmission, these have easy access, so I will leave this alone. Same with the hose going to the reservoir. This is very easy to replace in the future, so I'm just gonna leave this alone for now. I'm gonna try to make some more space to make life easier. I'm gonna start by just removing this intake piece. I recently replaced this. Note that if you try doing the same, it might just crack on you. So be prepared to replace this. Same with this hose right here. This was recently replaced, but it might break on you just due to the age of the car. Here you can see a hose broke off, like I said. Fortunately, this thing is long enough, has enough slack where I could probably just reuse the rest of it. But yes, shit does happen. For this, I was able to remove the clamp using the same Knipex pliers. This end here, you have more access now for a normal wrench to get here. Or not wrench, but normal pliers. Same with these. Let's do the easy access ones first. Get rid of the clamp. Those are probably in there. Use a little pick to kind of break the end off a little bit. Hopefully that'll help break loose. I cannot show most of these due to frustration, but I would use some big pliers to wiggle the end back and forth to break it free. Like here, just use this. It will not break free unless I use a massive pliers. So, yep, see, I cannot get it to come out any other way, but be patient and get creative. It's hard to reach these clamps with this thing in the way. I'm going to try to remove these 3 bolts. I already took one out here for the throttle body. These are, I believe, 12 millimeters. Just know by doing this, you also sacrifice or potentially sacrifice a throttle body gasket. Fortunately, I have a spare one sitting here, which I know is random, but it's here. Hopefully we have a little bit more clearance to play with this. All I had to do was pop off these 2, looks like vacuum lines. These are also in pretty bad shape. Might not be a bad idea to just replace these while you're in there. But again, it's kind of easy access, so if you don't, it's not too big of a deal. Okay, don't throw anything in there, put a paper towel. Now that I think about it, these bent nose pliers are probably one of the better bets for these really hard to reach areas. Like here, this clamp right here, it's a little offset, so I'm able to fit this here easier. The other normal pliers would not reach this, so just an option. By far, this end is the worst one to get to. This is one of the ones that go to the throttle body. It is all the way here at the T, all the way back there. So if possible, remove this one first and then reinstall this one first later. Fucking phone, I want to fucking focus. It's been well over 7 days and I have no idea where my replacement hoses are. I am referring to the original 3 that I was going to replace. RockAuto wants me to wait an additional 7 days to really make sure that the package is lost. I can't afford to keep having this car on jack stands, so I said screw it and ordered replacements on Amazon. Of course, the problem with Amazon is you could always get a fake one or counterfeit, but returns with Amazon Prime is a lot more easy than RockAuto. They're gonna probably make you send it back and send replacements using the slowest shipping again. Interesting enough, The remaining hoses, or part of them, have already shipped. This was a separate order. This one came before the main order did, got lost or whatever. Let's start with the lower radiator hose. Unfortunately, the existing one is aftermarket. CarQuest, and the replacement is also aftermarket. They don't really match exactly. I'm using the Gates 22271. Let's move the clamps over and get this installed. As you've seen in some of my previous videos, I just use saliva to lube the new hose so that it doesn't go on dry. It looks like this hose can fit both ways. The curve is pretty reasonable. I don't think it really matters if you reverse this one. Actually, I lied. The hose tends to fit in one orientation better than the other. If you face it the other way, the hose will not go in straight. Just experiment and see. Yep. Put it all the way in and then move the clamp back in. One problem you might encounter is this clamp no longer fitting over this new hose. You can try leaving the clamp closer to the end, clamping it down and wiggling it in place at the same time. Here's a different angle on the top hose. You might find that it's impossible to get this clamp over that nipple or that bulge right there in the flare. You might actually have to remove the hose, move this clamp up toward the end, compress it, and move it in all at once. Hard to record with one hand, do this at the same time, but compress a spring and shove it in. Yep, something like that. Reclamp these wires going to the alternator. For this bypass hose here, this is the old one. You can see the new one's a little bit too large. So all I'm going to do is overlay it and just trim the excess off with a utility knife. We want the fitment as close as possible. That way you don't get any kinks. This part is the Gates 18738. I'm going to cut it right where the 7 ends. Try to cut this squarely as possible. You don't want this crooked. That could also cause a leak. Let's remove the sticker and move the clamps over and reinstall it. I also suggest leaving the clamps in their original orientation. There's always a chance that one clamp is smaller on one end than the other. So this one I will move here, this one I will move there. Save some headaches. I'm also happy with that. Let's move those clamps into position and that should be good. Make sure there's no sharp bends or kinks. If the flare is here, then obviously you want the clamp before that so that it doesn't pull out. Same down here. The flare is around here, so remove the clamp higher past that point so that the hose does not pull out under pressure. Next, let's get the bottom heater hose. This replacement part is Gates 19116. So far, it appears to be the most closest looking product I have gotten to the original OEM. Just for shits and giggles, you can see the swelling that has happened over time with the old hose. This is why you have to change these every so often. They're supposed to last the life of the car nowadays. EPDM, I think, is the rubber they use. But if you remove it all the time, then I guess that's when things start breaking. I guess in theory, if you don't remove these ever, it might actually last longer than you think it does. The upper heater hose, the replacement's Gates 19161. Here you can really tell the difference between the old and new one. This was oil contaminated by the leak at the distributor cap seal, which I RTV'd. I replaced that cap, that plastic cap itself, resealed it. If you don't solve that leak, then there's no point changing the hose. It's just gonna leak down the coil packs, I think they are, and just degrade your hoses over and over again. So make sure you solve the root cause of the problems first. I got in the zone. I just started putting everything back together. This hose right here goes to the bottom heater core. The top one goes here. That's right next to that T. Let's wait for the rest of the parts to come here for the 2 throttle bodies. I know I said I was going to do those first, but the parts aren't here. These clamps are really hard to get in. I didn't even finish that one yet, but yeah, just wiggle your way in like that. Put some grease,
So a bit of a whoops. After doing some research, it looks like you shouldn't be using white lithium grease on rubber. It degrades it. You're better off using silicone grease if you have it. In my case, I'm gonna have to unclamp part of it, use some degreaser, just wipe that off. Speaking of nightmares, I had a hell of a time getting these back on last night, especially this one right here. If the clamp is damaged in any way, it's not going to work. So make sure you either have a spare or do your best not to bend the prongs. I've come to realize that you're going to need some variation of these bent nose pliers for things to work. This one, yes, it does work, but it has a tendency to damage the ring clamp, so be careful. Again, if the clamp is damaged, it just won't work. In this instance, only this one could reach that tight spot down there. This one is offset at an angle, so there's just too many obstructions back here. Whereas here, you go straight down from the top to get to it. If I didn't have this, it would be a showstopper. The final two hoses have arrived. These are the ones for the throttle body. This is Gates 18384. This one is 18383. Let's start with the shorter hose. This is the one that's further back. This is 18384. This one will go at the T. That's why I said it's further in the back. Right there. The other one will go a little bit further up front. So this hose is shorter. In this tight area, only a bent nose pliers will get to this clamp down here. This T, see that? Barely any clearance, but there's just enough angle on this thing where you get to it from this side, all right? For the other end of the hose, leaving the throttle body loose gives you better leverage for the other clamp. See, you have more leverage if you have this dismounted. If you don't hit yourself or the next person working on your car, I would leave these clamps, these little clips facing outwards or somewhere where you can reach with pliers. Otherwise, the next time you do this job, it's gonna really suck. This is the longer hose, 18383. This is the orientation I'm using. The longer one faces up. This one will go over here, right there where the nipple is, go under the coil packs and around all that mess. All right, these are done. Both hoses are clamped. Clamp that one in the front, which I haven't done yet. Make sure you didn't reverse it. I need to double check that. And then comes the task of putting a new gasket on here and reversing everything. I was looking back through the earlier videos and it looks like I reversed this hose. This hose I had underneath this one, it needs to be reversed. There's a loop here. So again, make sure you take videos before and after and compare your work. It turns out I reversed the throttle body hoses. This one right here. The front connects over here, but like I said earlier, it doesn't connect to the back. It connects to the port closer here. So I got it reversed. Just got to swap these two around. These bent nose pliers have saved the day. Even with the throttle body mounted again, it really lets me get into this tight corners right here. Here is the correct routing from the T underneath and then to the front of the throttle body. That hose in the back goes right here, which is really hard to see. The other side, the T. Everything is done. The only hose I haven't replaced yet is this one, because of course it's lost somewhere. I'll get to this one later on. I had to MacGyver my vacuum line. Just put a T, zip ties. That should do for now. I am using the SuperTech pre-diluted 50-50 mix. It's actually cheaper if you just buy 1 gallon of concentrate. That way it makes 2 gallons. Here you have to buy 2 of these bottles. It's a little bit more expensive. Just an option for those out there. Guess what finally came today? Today is the 23rd of June. This is shipped on the 10th. the final hose, the upper radiator hose from RockAuto. The other two I got on Amazon, so I'm just gonna return those two. Let's get this in. Should be very simple and straightforward. This final piece is the DAYCO 71617. Unfortunately, you're gonna lose a bit of coolant, so make sure you refill it and bleed it again. Turn the car on, of course, make sure all the bubbles come out and refill it, top it off. I forgot to mention this earlier, but after you replace the coolant hoses going to the heater core, you want to change the thermostat to hot, all the way hot, full blast, run it for a couple minutes to make sure all the coolant goes through the heater core. It also gets some of the extra air out of the system.
Looks beautiful. In this video, I showed how to replace the radiator along with 7 coolant hoses. The total cost of everything was $191.92. If you are very ambitious and don't run into any problems, you can definitely pull this off in a day. Otherwise, a weekend project is more reasonable. As shown in video, replacing the radiator was a 3 out of 5 in difficulty, and replacing the hoses 4 out of 5. If you don't have the right tools or patience, this can easily be a 5 out of 5. It's understandable if you decide to have the hoses replaced professionally. It can be quite annoying. If I helped you today, please consider liking the video, and if you want to see more DIY projects at home, definitely subscribe for future content.